about the problems in America, about what is going on. We're going to be talking about what keeps us here, what caused this, what keeps us here, and what we're going to do about it. Because, gosh dang, we can fix this. We just have to recognize that we're able to. So, what we'll be talking about right now is why everyone feels so tired and broken, even though most of us are doing everything right, right? Because what's actually happening is that money doesn't buy happiness, but damn, money buys housing, money buys health care, money puts food on the dang table. And there was a time where if a company was successful, there was a time in America not that long ago that if a company was successful, they did everything they could to make their employees successful too. But that all changed when the 1% bought up all the companies and figured out something pretty gosh dang dangerous. It's that if they underpay all of us, that they not only are beating us economically, but they've got all the power. Because when you are living one step from financial ruin, you can't speak up. You're living in fear. So that's why everybody feels broken. That's why everything feels so broken. That's why everyone is tired and stressed. It is not that we are weak. It's not that you're lazy. It's fear by design. They lie to us. They keep us stuck. And then they use that fear to divide us. It's not that hard. They make it scary. They make it scary because they don't give us what we need to live. And because it's scary, they know we're easy to divide. There you go. So if you just joined, we're talking about why the American dream didn't disappear. It was taken. So what was stolen? Well, corporations broke the deal because people say that's just capitalism, but it's not. Because if a corporation is intelligent, it recognizes that it needs a healthy community because that's what it should be. There should be multiple competitors. There should be 50 general stores in every city. There should be 10 hardware stores because if there's not, then one corporation takes over. Right now, only 3 companies, Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street, control 85% of companies on the S&P 500. One of the tenets of capitalism is competition, a free market. So how can you say that the system that we are in is anything like a free market? Because what they do is they have taken our ability to have security and they underpay us after a hard day's work on purpose. And when they underpay you after busting your ass all day, they don't just take your money. They don't just take your security. They take your goddamn dignity. Because when you bust your ass all day and you're not paid enough, you don't feel very good about yourself. They take your respect because you're not able to buy anything. And really, they take your freedom because freedom of choice needs money. In order to have freedom of choice, you have to have money. You don't feel very free when you walk into the grocery store and all you can buy is rice and beans. You don't feel really free when, yeah, you can go see the doctor, but you can't pay for your medicine, right? And then that's what we're told. This is just the way that it is, right? We're just told, live with it. This is just the way it is. You should be struggling to afford the things you need to live. Food and housing and healthcare, that should take up most of your salary. This is just the way things are. And that's why it hurts so deeply, because it's not. I think the most people say we can live a better life because what's the goal of a society? What's the goal of a society? To provide people freedom? Well, you can't have freedom without choice. And if you don't have money, you don't have choices. Is it to provide people with security? Because the majority of people should have security. That's actually better for a society. So what is the point of a society? It certainly isn't so that the majority of us can work our asses off so a few people can get rich. Because really, it's just, if a company is successful, its employees should be too. And think of it, it used to be if there was competition and a company was successful and they screwed over their employees, what would we do? We'd go shop somewhere else. But they made sure we can't shop anywhere else because there is no competition. You can't walk out of Walmart and go shop somewhere else, right? Walmart knows that. So the only reason that they would pay more to their employees is if there was competition, right? Competition is what raises salaries. Competition is what creates innovation. And it's the lack of competition is why the majority of people don't understand. And then here's the problem. It's that people just are not, it's whatever. So, and then you have people that want to divide, right? Left versus right. And as soon as you get to talking about this, they start pointing fingers. Oh, well, this is it. Oh, well, this is that. And they want to label. They want to say, well, I'm this, or well, I'm that, or this is this, or this is that. And they want to try to explain it to people without recognizing that if you lead with ideology over practicality, you're going to lose everybody, right? If you come from this place of pretentiousness, you will not convert people, because what you're trying to do is use a moral argument to convince people when they never got there using their morals. So what we are talking about is that if a company is successful, so should its employees. And the reason it's not right now is because companies figured out that if they control everything, that they can dominate us. And all that we're saying is that corporations don't care about you, Willie. It's so funny because I think most people are brainwashed into thinking that as soon as somebody talks about this, that they plug their ears. But then that same person complains about how corporations never have good food at the grocery store. You complain about how corporations are, incentivized for your health care to not take care of you. Every time we bring up that, hey, why is it that corporations are incentivized to screw people over? People get confused, right? And they say, oh, they point fingers left or right, rather than just being like, yeah, corporations do kind of suck. Corporations do control. Most people get their food from corporations. And then those corporations lie to us about what's in the food because they don't care whether we are healthy or not. They only care if we buy it. And then look at these healthcare insurance companies. We pay them our whole life to keep us healthy. Then when we need their product, they say, nope, we can't offer you that. Not because you don't need it, but because it'll cost us more money and we want to hit our profit margin. We want to hit our bonus. And so all that we're saying is that, hey, Americans, corporations don't care about you. Corporations are incentivized to not care about you. But then when I bring this up, people like Willie go, oh, you've lost your mind. I'm not going to waste my time. But Willie, don't you think that corporations control most of the things in your life? When you wake up every single day, you get in a car that was built by a corporation. You go to a job that is most likely a corporate job. You go and buy your food from a corporate grocery store. You pay your rent and your housing to a corporation. your mortgage or your rent to a corporation. You pay your health insurance to a corporation. You rely on corporations for everything that you need to live. But then those corporations are incentivized to screw you over. So let's talk about it. 1% of people have as much as 90%. So that's 3 million people that have as much money as 50 trillion people. If you divided the $50 trillion that the 1% have by the 231 million people, you get $216,000 per American. That's how much the 1% has taken from the employees. $190,000 per American. If you made it so that America was 10 people that were baking 10 slices of bread, that would be one person taking 5 slices. And this is only people with a $40 million net worth. How many people do you know that have $40 million in net worth? Well, those are the people screwing us, $40 million and above. And it's really the people with $100 million and above that are really causing the problems. And that's why we call them the hoarders. They're not the billionaires. They are the hoarders because they take more than they need from people who don't have enough. And then they use left versus right to divide us. And it is not left versus right. It is up versus down. And when we say it's not left versus right, it doesn't mean that we're going to sit there and listen to people who still have their head in the sand. What it is we're saying that, hey, we don't give a shit what you used to do, what the media lied to you about, because we all see that we're products of our society. What we are doing moving forward is we are putting together a group of people that believe humans have intrinsic value. Because everybody knows that there is something wrong, but they intentionally keep us too broke and too tired to deal with it. Us staying silent is what keeps them in power. And when we stop being silent, the fear starts to flip. We're not afraid anymore. They start being afraid. Because that's the whole point. Is that corporations hold all the leverage. They have all the leverage. If you've ever wondered why working harder never increases your pay, this is why. Because savings equals freedom. If you have money, you've got freedoms that people without money do not have. And what they figured out is that if you don't have savings, they don't just control us economically, they control every part of our life. Because if you don't have savings, you can't say no. You can't say no to a corporation taking advantage of you. You can't say no to a politician that is screwing you over. Savings gives you the ability, we call it FU money, right? Well, you don't need to be super rich to have FU money. You just need to be able to be like, screw this, F this. I'm not being a part of this anymore. So here's what's funny. Could you quit your job tomorrow? Could you quit your job on Monday? If your boss started treating you like a jerk, could you quit your job on Monday? Most people don't have enough savings to quit their job on Monday. And if you quit your job on Monday, if you can't quit your job, you can't say no. So if you can't just go and quit on Monday and said, this is bad situation, I'm not working for this person or this company anymore, I quit. I'm quitting on Monday. But that's where it's so funny. You see that person, they're not commenting because they think that saying no is when somebody walks up to you and says, do this. Oh, I say no. But when the boss calls and says, hey, I need you to work on Sunday or you're fired, can you say no? How bad do you need that job? Do you have enough savings that you can get through the next 6 weeks, the next 8 weeks, the next 12 weeks? Well, the majority of Americans don't. Not because they're lazy, not because they can't budget, but because the boss recognizes if you don't have savings, You can't say no. And damn, that gives the boss a lot of power. Absolutely. So keeping people broke isn't an accident. It's a way to control us. Because if none of us have any savings, we are dependent on them. And that dependence is power. Because if we are dependent, even though it is our kid's birthday tomorrow, they can call us up and say, come into work. And you say, nah, boss, it's my kid's birthday. And they go, come into work or you're fired. And they know you're coming in because you depend on them. And that dependence is power. This is why we feel trapped. This is why we feel trapped. How it all, because we are. It all connects. No competition means lower wages. Lower wages means no savings, and no savings means that you're dependent. You're stuck. If you're feeling this, join the Discord. I'll be getting to the solution in just a couple minutes. Hang with us. But when people can't say no, that is not a free society. The system doesn't just screw you over with your paycheck, it takes away your voice. Par, not only are we talking about this, we have a community where we're building to fix this because the solution is surprisingly simple. Corporations didn't just take over the economy, they took over the whole competition on Discord. It's this link right here that I just put. Corporations didn't just take over the economy. They bought all the competition. There's no reason to innovate. There's no reason to raise wages. If that was the only problem, we would all see that clearly and we'd be able to fix it. So they realized something else, right? They realized something else, that they have to control the narrative as well. They've taken over the economy and they take over the media. That's the problem. They had to make sure that the majority of people didn't realize the truth, because for the people, because if enough of us saw it, we'd be able to fix it. And for the people that did see it, they need to make sure that it looked so big and so hopeless that we just give up. Well, what could little old me do, right, Beep? What could we do? And again, that is not an accident. That is how you neutralize people before the cost of living has not changed. That is how you neutralize people before they start pushing back against you. You either keep them divided or you convince them that nothing can be done. I can't tell you how many times that we have this conversation and half the replies are, we're screwed. There's nothing to do, right? There's nothing to do. And then what people do is we've got people that come in that blame the individual. All you have to do is go look up the average house, the rent payment, average mortgage payment, average car payment, average food expenditure, average healthcare expenditure. There's a lot of things we need that add up. And then when those things add up to $3,000 or $4,000 a month, which is very normal, then the majority of us only make $3,000 or $4,000 a month. So that means that we don't have any savings, and the lack of savings means that we're dependent. So we don't just have money, we don't have a voice either, right? That's what it comes down to. People feel trapped because they don't have any savings. When you don't have any savings, they control you, because then your boss can call you up and say, hey, come into work tomorrow or you are fired. Well, Bumblebee, that's where they always, find something wrong with it. Because here's what it is. When we argue about when we are fighting each other, the corporations keep winning. So they want so bad some people to come in here and to push back against it, because really this is where we try not to fight or push back, because really regular Americans fighting only serves the corporations. It doesn't. What does it do to help us? That's all. You either keep people divided or you convince them that nothing can change. And that's where, if you've ever been like, dang, I see this, Why can't the majority of people see this? Well, that is why. Because they lie to us. They literally keep us in separate realities. Because if we were all told the same thing, if we had that newscaster of old that kept us all grounded in the same reality, believing the same truth, that we would be like, oh, that's the problem. Corporations are underpaying their employees because there's no competition. And then we would recognize that if we still controlled the media, but corporations have turned the media, instead of being for people, it's for profit. And that's the problem. When the things that should be for the people turn into something that's for the profit, one of the only mechanisms we had to push back became a tool of the ultra wealthy rather than something that's for us. But the media used to ground us in the same reality. They tell some people that 2 + 2 = 4, and then they tell others that 2 + 2 = 5, because they know that if we're fighting each other, that we never are pointing fingers at the actual problem, and that's the people up top. And as I said, that only works when the media is for profit instead of for the people. Because when we are arguing amongst each other, we're not challenging the people in charge. That's all it comes down to. Imagine if you had a company and you made $10 million a year, but you only paid your employees $10 an hour. Well, you want to make sure that those employees are fighting and arguing about what's really going on, because as long as those employees are arguing, they'll never challenge you. They'll never look into, hey, why are you paying me so little, but you're making so much? So as long as we keep fighting, as long as we keep up the left versus right, corporations will always keep winning. And then Rabbit, they make us feel guilty for it, don't they? They make it so that the cost of living and the average salary is almost the same. And then they go, Rabbit, you're lazy. You don't know how to budget, right? This sucks so bad. They gaslight us. And then we get angry because we're like, wait, I'm working harder than ever. I'm still falling farther behind. And you're saying it's my fault? Well, that's why I like to call the economy, it's a rigged carnival game. So if you went to the carnival and you thought the carnival had free and fair games, you would be like, all right, nice. I'm going to hit this carnival. I'm pretty good at basketball. I'm going to take some shots at this carnival, right? Well, then you miss and you miss and you miss. And you're like a little angry with yourself. You're like, damn, I thought I was better than that. I thought I could make a basket or two, right? But you miss it and you miss it and you miss it. And you're like, what did I do wrong? And the carnival barker's making fun of you too. And then here's what it is. Your apathy, Otzimus, is what keeps corporations winning. That's it. They want you to be like, oh, it's not going to do anything. Even though we have actual ideas that get people compelled. We're not just talking about what's wrong. We are building what's right. We're not arguing morally about something people did not get to. We're not going to argue about whether a car is better than a horse. We're simply going to build the car. And that's where we're not going to, Eric will help you. And that's where this isn't a place to argue or debate. We are done pointing fingers and saying, this is the problem. That's the problem. We're working towards solutions. Because there's one problem. Greed is the disease in America today. If America was 10 people and our economy was 10 slices of bread, one person would take 5 slices. I think that tells you why we feel screwed over. I think that tells you why we feel pressure on our chests every day. Not because we are doing something wrong. We helped made the 10 slices of bread, but there are only 5 slices left for 9 people. So we feel scared. We feel that fear, y'all. We work 40 hours a week. We bust our ass. But because the one person up top takes 5 slices, well, then there's only 5 slices left for 9 of us. So that means 2 or 3 people are not going to survive, but they did the hard work. This is what's crazy. But nothing ever changes because they keep us divided. They keep us fighting about 1,000 different issues. Missy, we don't want to talk about it. And that's why we drop the me's. So if you are feeling this and you have not talked about it yet, and you have not dropped a me, go ahead, drop a me in the comments, because that is what we need, is for us to break the silence. That is the first step. It is only this way because we stay quiet. It is only this way because we think we're the only one. We go up to the carnival game and we lose the carnival game and we walk away with our head in shame. But we don't realize that Bumblebee also lost, that Beep also lost, that Mrs. also lost, that I lost, that everybody has lost. And then as soon as you're angry, you're like, dang, what is wrong with people? And then you realize it's rigged. You take one of those basketballs, you put it next to the hoop, and you realize it'll never go in. What do you feel? You feel better, right? You're like, oh, it wasn't me. It was rigged all along. It sucks that it was rigged, but at least there's not something wrong with me. Nice. Now I can try to move forward now that I have the full knowledge. So that's why everybody feels confused. It really is, because we're doing this thing that we've practiced for our whole lives. But it's not working, not because we're bad at it, but because they rigged it. And if only some of us see that the carnival game is rigged, it doesn't matter, right? If only some of us see that it's rigged, it doesn't matter. They've got some of the people that are hopeless going, yeah, it's rigged, but who gives a shit? I'm not going to say anything. And then the people that are like, no, it's not rigged. I saw this one person win one time. And they use this one little personal anecdote to show why it's not rigged. But that's where they don't need everybody confused. They just need us split, right? Well, same here, Mrs. This is why I like talking about it. I'm like, how can I talk to my parents about this? But that's why speaking out is the biggest danger. Can we see? That's why speaking out is the biggest danger. Because they understand that they don't need all of us divided, or they need all of us divided. And we just need to speak up. And Eric, healthcare is tied to your job for the same reason they don't give you savings. It controls you. It's a control mechanism. That's all. So we have to remember that corporations are like HR, basically. Corporations are not there for us at all. Corporations are only there, or politicians are not there for us at all. Politicians are only there because they serve the people up top. Well, and then, Joker, that's where we're going to talk about what the actual issue is. Because speaking out is the real danger to them. And this is also why voting feels like it should fix things, but it doesn't. Because when people see the problems, we've got issues in the economy, we've got issues with the media, all of them screw people over. So what do? We turn to the politicians, sadly. That makes sense. Politicians are supposed to correct the imbalances when the institutions start working for profit instead of for people. When the economy works against us rather than for us. That's how it used to work. That the economy provided opportunity, the media gave us reality, and politicians corrected imbalances. But corporations rewrote those rules so dang thoroughly that the politics, the media, and all of it became for profit instead of for people. Now, politics is just a job. We have to remember that. And like any job, you answer to the people that pay you. Right? Campaigns are funded by corporations. So politicians work for corporate interests. but they just pretend like it's for the public. They are the HR representative. The HR representative pretends like they are on your side. Oh. The HR representative pretends like you're on their side, but really they're there to defend the company. And that's all that politicians are. They pretend like they are on the people's side, but really they are only there to protect the system. And dang, that makes us feel betrayed. It really does. Because the system tells us that the politicians are supposed to be there for us. They are the vanguards of society. They protect us against greed. But they're now incentivized to screw us over just like the frickin' corporations are. So now corporations and politicians are basically working together to make sure that we are always screwed over. So we need to demand change. What we used to do is we demanded change from our politicians. And because we were the ones that paid for their campaign finance, they listened to us. So then we recognize, all right, politicians aren't listening to us. The media works against us. The economy is not for us. Well, there's more of us than there are them. We'll be able to figure this out if we can just get 3.5% of people out into the streets. There's more of us than there are them. Well, next we're going to explain why just having more people is not enough to force change. It really isn't. Because that's what feels right. We're like, oh, wait, we can come together. If we just come together, we can fix this. It sounds right, but it ignores where real power comes from. It feels like power is in the halls of Congress. It feels like power is in legislation, but power is in people who control your food. The people that have the power are the people that control your food. The people that have their power are the people that control your medicine. Because what if you're out protesting and we get 1 million people protesting and they go, anybody that's protesting will not be allowed to buy their medicine from the pharmacy. If you continue protesting, everybody must go home or you will not be able to buy your medicine from the pharmacy. Oh, and none of your family members can have any medicine either. That is control. You don't need to put people back into their homes by force then, right? You just tell them they can't go to the grocery store. They're banned from all grocery stores. They're banned from all medicines. That's when they've got people in there. So we are never going to overpower them. It will never happen. Because that is once again ignoring where power lies. Power lies in the people that control your food. Power lies in the people that control your medicine. So that's where we didn't lose that power because we wanted to. We lost that power because there's no other alternative, right? There's no other alternative. We don't have any leverage because we are forced to depend on the very same system that screws us over. We are. Because what's the best thing that we can do? The best thing that we could do would be to stay home for a week, stay home for a month, and say, screw this, right? Screw this. We're not going to be a part of this. We're sitting at home. We're sitting at home until you fix this. That's the biggest strength that we have. It's not the 99 versus the 1, because they will take away our food. They will take away our health care. They will take away our housing. How are you supposed to fight back if you don't have any food? How are you supposed to fight back if you don't have any health care, if you don't have any medicine? Well, you're not going to. They're going to win. They stopped you fighting back before you were even able to start. That's leverage. And all I'm saying is they have all the leverage right now. So right now we're sitting here saying, you better fix it or else we're not going to participate. You better fix it or else we're not coming back to work. Right? But that's like a 15-year-old going to their parents and saying, you better change things around here or else we're leaving, or else I'm leaving. The parents aren't scared. They know that that kid will come back when they get hungry because they control all the food. They know that that kid will come back when they are cold because the parents control the shelter. Trash Messiah, voting does nothing when the people that get the votes work for corporations. That's all. Corporations control our economy and our politics and our media. So everybody can go and vote, but you'd be voting for the corporate interests, the corporations. And that's where we've got to understand that protesting does not matter. We could have 100 million people protesting, but then the very next day, we have to go buy food from the same people that we're protesting against from their grocery store. We have to go pay the same people that we're protesting against our rent and our mortgage payment. We pay the same people that we're protesting against our health insurance. But Ulrich, you can't boycott what you need to live. That's why corporations made sure that they control everything we need to live. You can't boycott food, right? Most Americans need to go to a grocery store. There is not a local alternative. So how do you boycott food? Almost all Americans need health insurance. There is not a local alternative for health insurance. So you just tell people to stop, to just boycott healthcare? And then everybody needs housing, whether you're paying rent or whether you're paying your mortgage. That's going to a corporation. People should just boycott that. So that's where we cannot boycott when the people in control what we need to live. We're like a 15-year-old saying, change it or we're leaving. Well, they're not afraid because we depend on that system that we need to live, our food, our housing, our healthcare. So when we demand them to change it, the system knows we can't actually walk away. And when there's actually no threat, when we have no leverage, power doesn't have to move. Ulrich, you are so right. But right now, the corporations realize that if they throw out that food, we need to go pay for more of it. So they're not going to allow us to do it, right? Well, Trash Messiah, we do need to talk about the disease for a little while, because one of the main things that the ultra wealthy do is they make it feel like there's 1,000 different problems going on. So some people think it's foreign influence. Some people think it's the Democrats, it's the Republicans. Some people think it's the Federal Reserve, all of these different issues. So what we talk about is we make sure that we stay on the fact that greed is the disease and causes a lot of the other problems that we see. Because if we are all thinking it's a different disease, then we'll all work towards a different cure, right? So if you think it's a earache and I think it's a headache and somebody else thinks it's a backache, when really it's a congenital heart disease, we are all going to be going in different directions, right? Jeff Bezos became a billionaire because of all the other people that work for him. And you would recognize that if Jeff Bezos and his ilk didn't control the media. This is where we need to understand that the people who have their head in the sand, we're not trying to convince you. If you are listening to this now and are like, this guy's full of crap, that's fine. My job is to not convince you, not at all. Our job is to show you that this economy doesn't work for you, that the corporations actively screw you over, and that the ultra wealthy are products of their society the same exact way that people in poverty are products of their society. Because we have to stop demanding change without leverage. We have to start building that leverage. I have 34 employees and 6 locations. I'm so passionate about this because I will be on here every single day at 11 a.m. And every single time that I'm on here, every one of my locations are open. So I'm not the one that is doing all the work for the business. My employees are, and god damn are they good at it. So I make sure to pay those employees a shitload of money so that they continue to be good at their job. Because I want them to have the security, to have housing and food and healthcare. Because damn, if somebody is wondering where their next meal is coming from, or how they're going to make their rent at the end of the month, they're not going to focus really well on what their job is, right? And then if you've got 6 and 7 locations like I have, you want to pay employees enough to care, because you want them to be able to have incentive to grow that location independent of you. Because what I want is I want to take my time back. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to spend more time doing the things that I love. Therefore, I pay the employees enough to care. And I tell them, hey, if you grow this location and you make more money and profit for the business, you will get a lot of that profit back, because it only grew because of what you did. So we're a team, we're a partnership. I couldn't have 6 locations without having 5 other people that cared about my business. And think about it. If I've got 5 locations and I'm only paying them $8 an hour, I'm going to get a lot of call outs, right? That leads to me having to get up, go open up a location, have other people backed up, where if I just pay them enough to care, they will want to be a part of the organization. But they don't care because they don't have to worry about their customers leaving. I pay our employees so well because I want our customers to have a great experience, because I want our customers to keep coming back. A place like Walmart or Home Depot knows that where else are their customers going to go? You have no other options, right? You have no other options. And so all that we're saying is corporations don't care about you, but corporations control most of what you need to live. You go into Walmart and that Walmart employee rolls your eyes at you. Well, Bumblebee, this is what made me get there, because this is what corporations don't think this way, because they don't have to. Because if you walk into a Walmart and they treat you like crap, you can't walk out and go to a similar store. You have to go to Target, which probably is owned by the same people Walmart owns. You know what I mean? So, and there's no competition. The big corporations have no incentive to pay the employees enough to keep a smile on. Because, man, if those Walmart employees were making $25, $30 an hour, they would probably walk around with a smile, and that would probably make the customers happier. But Walmart doesn't care if its customers are happier, because what are you going to do? Go somewhere else? No, there's not. Pick them on. They're both terrible. What I'm saying is there's no Ulrich's General Store. There's no Ravenna's General Store. There's no Bumblebee General Store. Because if we could walk out and go somewhere else, that's where I even think that we should allow swap meets and yard sales in Walmart parking lots, because they'd start offering at least some competition, right? At least some competition. I guarantee that with Walmart and Target, that either Vanguard, BlackRock, or State Street are some of the top shareholders of both Walmart and Target, because over 85% of corporations on the S&P 500 have the same 3 top shareholders. So they are the same 3 top shareholders. But that's why putting pressure on politicians doesn't work anymore, right? Because in the past, putting pressure on politicians meant that they would do something. But that only worked when they answered to the people. Today, the corporations are what fund the political campaigns. So you listen to the people that pay you, right? You listen to the people that pay you. So if we want leverage, we have to stop trying to put pressure on the politicians. We got to put pressure on them dang corporations, right? And what is the one language? What's the one language? What's the one thing that corporations understand? Let's get it in the chat. Some dollar signs, some money, some moolah, some profit. They care about one goddamn thing. So if they care about that one thing, let's work backwards on how we can affect that. We've already talked about we can't boycott it. How do we boycott food? It's my Baltimore accent coming out. How do we boycott health insurance and health care? How do we boycott our dang housing? But you can't vote them out. So you can't vote and starving. Yes, voting the old guard out and starving the corpse out. I'd say starving the corporations out is the only way you get the old guard out. Oh, Pokemon, 100%. That's our big question that we're answering. If corporations control the government, how do we put pressure on corporations? I've been talking a long time, but that's the thesis. And corporations don't care about us, but corporations control everything. When corporations literally control everything, what do? And we're almost there. Appreciate everybody staying with me. So what most movements get wrong is they say boycott, right? Is they say protest, right? But before we start applying pressure to the system, we have to build alternatives, because we can give as much pressure to the people in charge as we want. But if they know that after 2 or 3 days of trying to buy local, that we have to go get a bunch of things from their stores, that we're screwed. The majority of people won't take a leap of faith, like not paying taxes, until they recognize that the fear has flipped, that there's more people on our side. It's not about raising your own food. The majority of people can't do that. Leverage doesn't come from you trying to live all on your own, and leverage doesn't come from just boycotting. Leverage comes from having a bunch of choices. Not raising your own food, but being in touch with 7 other people that all create their own food. That's the shift. We need local alternatives. We need local options. Pokemon, I'll get to it in just a second. I don't think it's with corporations being gone. I think that we can beat them. Here's all that corporations really do, and here's how I know that we can beat them. Corporations don't make food. Corporations don't doctor us. They don't provide our health care. All that corporations do is connect the people who create goods and services, our community members, with the people who buy them, our community members. Tanner, that's actually exactly what I'm getting to. All corporations are middlemen. They sit in between us and the things we need to live. There's us over here that want to buy food. There's farmers over here that make food. Well, the corporations put themselves in between and said, hey, in the beginning, this is what they did. We'll take care of you. Instead of you going to 9 different farmers and still not getting what you want, what about we'll buy all of those food from the farmers, and we'll put it in this central location, and we'll make it easy and convenient for you. And for a little while it was, right? But then that grocery store got bought out by a private equity, right? And that private equity has no connection to the community. And so then they control all their food. So they're like, oh, shoot, let's raise the price of this because we control their food, right? And then the biggest fallacy that people have is they think we need to go 100% right away. Oh, we need to make sure we've got pineapples and oranges and all of this exotic fruit. No, we don't need what the grocery store has. We just need to show people that life is possible to not use a grocery store, right? That's all. People don't use a grocery store because they want to. People use the grocery store out of habit. That's all that they really know. I'm almost 40, and I've never lived in a world where I haven't seen a grocery store. I've never not gone to a grocery store. Yet recently it's like, okay, local markets are great too, but the default option is grocery store. The default option is the system. So most people just go with the default option, right? So let's make another option. Let's make another alternative to the default option. That is it. This is how we beat them. Not by growing your own food, by connecting with people in your community. Because this system is the only system that most of us have known. We don't go to the grocery store because we love what they offer us. We don't buy our health insurance from corporations because they're so great. We don't pay our rent. We don't pay our rent to Blackstone and our mortgages to corporations because they're the best. It's not about inventing a new system. Before grocery stores, we had farmers markets. Before corporate healthcare, we had local doctors. Before multinational banks and media, we had local newspapers and local doctors. Boyle, that's what we're building. We don't need to invent a new future. We just have to remember what we used to do in the past. And the only reason corporations really came in was because of communication. And now we've got the internet. But what it is that farmers markets are not default. So here we go. So I'm going to block Turge, y'all, because that person's not here to listen, right? That person's not here to have a conversation. That is a person that grew up with horses. And when we talk about building a car, they get their feelings hurt because horses are all that they've known. That's really all that it is. So when we say it's not left versus right, it's up versus down, that doesn't mean we sit here and we have a conversation with the Turd Fergusons of the world. What we do is we say, look, who cares? Who's next? Because I don't care about convincing the people that think a horse is better than a car. I care about gathering the people that want to say, damn, I see the vision. If we build this car, we don't have to convince people. Because we need to get people to not use the corporate system. That's it. Because here's what this looks like at scale. We don't need one massive solution. It won't just be neighborhood markets. There'll be a lot of them. We need 1 million small businesses. And each of those 1 million small businesses each serves 50 people. There's your 50 million people who now have an alternative. But Bill, what they do is they capture the minds of the rest of us, and that's why we can never build this alternative. Or because people think that we need to completely replace the corporations overnight. Man, baby, what we're talking about is building a better system. Just like a car is a better system of transportation. But we're talking about building a better system, a car, to people that have only ever seen the old system, a horse. So if you sit there and try to argue that this theoretical car that you're going to build is going to be better than a horse, you will never win that argument. Because you are trying to reason somebody and have a moral argument with somebody who got there by habit, who got there because that's what they were born into. So what we need to do is make sure that they can see the car rather than trying to argue about it. But here's that again. I got you. Who was it? I got you, Bill. We don't need this is what the solution is. It's not like we're saying, here's the problem and here's the solution. The solution is to compete with corporations because all corporations are middlemen. The main concern with price, I'll address that in a second. All corporations are middlemen. They add nothing of value. They connect the people that want food with the people that grow it. But then they realize that, oh, we're the ones in charge of their food. We can charge them what they want. And we're motivated by profit, not keeping these people fed or healthy. So let's make more money. Oh, the healthcare? All doctors want to do is provide you care at an affordable price. All we want is good quality healthcare. Insurance companies are the problem. So that goes right to your question then, Pikaman. What about prices? Well, let's go to food, right? So when a corporation goes and buys food, the two things that they offer the farmer is bulk quantity and predictability. We're going to buy this much every single week. That's what we're building too, right? Well, that's where, man, baby, we don't talk to the people. For the people that have made their horse their identity, screw it. We're just going to build a car that's cool enough that the 70, 60% of people that don't want this system, that don't want horse crap everywhere, start a new one. But basically, Pokemon, when it comes down to price, we're going to be going to the same people and we're going to be saying, hey, we're going to buy 1,000 eggs a week from you. And the farmer will probably be like, well, I can get you close to the price I give the corporation. But guess what? They probably sell a dozen eggs for like $3 or $3.50. And then the corporation has to go and get a person to truck them from the farmer to their distribution center. They got to wash them, clean them, and package them at the distribution center. Then they got to take them to the grocery store. They got to pay the employees to stock them. They got to pay the rent for the grocery store. Half of your cost for eggs goes to covering the overhead for the corporation. I'm sure that corporation is buying eggs for $3 or $4 bulk, and they're turning around and selling them for $6 and $7 a dozen to you. This is where the money-making opportunity comes in, y'all. This is big. This is important because you can make money on this. Not life-changing, but you can make a couple bucks and you can serve your community. Because that corporation who's sitting in between you and the people in your community that want eggs and food, they don't care about your community. They don't care about answering the text messages of the people that have questions. They don't care about the people, about the actual outcome of what happens in that community. You know why your small business will succeed? You know why these million small businesses will 100% without a doubt succeed? Because they will care about the community that they serve. They are part of the fabric of the community that they are in. And I can tell you, as a small business owner that serves your community, there is nothing better when you are offering an alternative to people when they have been yearning for one for years, for decades. You can't imagine that if you go and go, hey, everybody, drop out of the system. We need a new system. You're probably not going to get that many people. But what if you went to them and you go, corporations really don't care about us. They have made that super obvious over the last decade or two. But corporations know that they can make it obvious because they control everything we need to live. So rather than letting them control our food, a bunch of us are getting together and we're going to buy food from a local farmer. Would you be in? That's all we, not, hey, drop out of the system. F this system. Screw it. No. Hey, would you want to buy eggs from a local person instead of a corporation? Drop the yeses in the chat if that's you. Give me a yeah if that's you, because I think that's the majority of people. I think the majority of people want an alternative to the corporate bullshit. Even if it's 50 cents more, I would go there because that person cared about me. How cool would it be if you had 100 people that relied on you for eggs? You literally put it, you can call it cost plus food, like they have cost plus drugs. Cost plus food. Hey, I buy these eggs for $3. I put a 50-cent markup at them. You get fresh farm-raised eggs for $3.50. There's 100 of us here, so I make $50 a week, not a crazy amount. And I'm not extracting value. I'm actually adding value because if I'll text you every single week, eventually we'll start adding more products. I will be at every single pickup to make sure that you get your eggs smoothly and without a problem. I will hold the farmer accountable to make sure everything gets delivered on time. And I'll set this up for everybody so that you can get delicious farm fresh eggs for the same price as the corporation. I don't think people would mind because then you're paying for value. And man, all that I want is to pay somebody that cares about my family. All I want is for my money to go to a business where that money will stay in my community. That's it. Because right now, every time we use a corporation, not only are we supporting that corporation, but the money leaves our community. So give us a follow if you haven't yet. We have a Discord that is building this. Bill, go ahead and start it, my man. That's where, if you are feeling this, let's work together to start this. This is where my passion lies. This is where I believe that we can change our country, because we're not getting people to be like excited about activism. This isn't activism. This is activation. Well, Stephen, you shouldn't have come in so hot in the beginning then. Because we all need money, and this is a money-making endeavor. That's what this is. We can make money on this. And people won't mind you making money on this because you'll be providing an actual service to them. You'll be bringing actual value. This is how many people feel this. This is how many people. Ulrich, that's what I keep thinking. If we can parlay this to everybody having chickens and having their own garden, and then you can make money. Then you can grow your own eggs, and maybe you can't do 1,000 eggs a week, but maybe you can get, I don't know, 50 eggs a week, and you're still making money off those 50 eggs a week. And then maybe you're also growing vegetables, and we add a vegetable box, and you're selling those as well. So Mary, what the Discord does is the Discord breaks us out by state. So every single person, not quite everybody on this map, but what we are doing is we are breaking out by state. That's a big one, Mike. So our community is doing a couple different things. We are having people recognize what the problem is. Then as soon as you recognize what the problem is, we ask that you make changes in your life. Number one, stop supporting corporations when you can. Stop using credit cards and start using debit cards or cash. Every time we swipe that credit card, 3% leaves our community, and it makes the corporations 3% more powerful. Look at the things that you purchase regularly. Instead of paper towels, get rags. Make your own soap. Do what you can to buy to replace corporate purchases with local. So basically, you recognize that greed is the disease. You reorganize your life. But the biggest thing you can do is when people say, what next? What else can I do? And that's where I think movements have always struggled, because honestly, I was afraid to say the small business thing too, because we don't want to recreate the same system that we're in, but we're not. Because the difference is when it's a small business, that owner cares about the community. That's what the difference is. And corporations, they tricked us into building this society because they made us believe that we needed them, right? Well, I don't think it's laziness, Anne-Marie. I don't think it's laziness at all. The majority of us only know this system. I am almost 40 years old, year and a half. But I never have seen like the majority of people my age be like, oh, let's go to a farmer's market because that's an easy alternative, right? So, but Kalos, it doesn't matter the size of the company. Of course, exploitative is what it is. So local small business owners simply take on the persona of the corporations. So that would be something that we don't support, but that's where we are there together, right? So we are going to beat the corporations. We're going to be better middlemen than they are. We're going to be middlemen that care about the community. And if you're a small business and it's not, then Chance, good to have you. I've really corded in here on this isn't activism, this is activation. What's going to start this isn't 50 million people coming together to have the same mindset. It's going to be 1 million small businesses. And those million small businesses will have 50 people that rely on them. And that's how we get 50 million people to believe that shit, we don't need a new system. We just need alternatives. Because if we have alternatives, we can say, screw this system. We're not participating. And that's the most important thing that we can do is say, screw this. We're not participating. And you're almost there. It's not about independence. No one on planet Earth is independent. What it is, it's about recognizing that interdependence, depending on each other, is the only way we can achieve independence, literally. Because we all wake up every morning in a bed that we did not build, in a house that we did not build. We get in a car that we did not build, on roads that we did not pave. We go to grocery stores with food that we did not pick. We all rely on other people. It's just that the corporations have gotten in there and weaseled themselves in to be middlemen. And because most of us have only been alive in a system where corporations have become middlemen, it's our habit. Well, Bill, it was a new one to me too, but it really is, because all I kept thinking was like, everybody's dependent on everyone else. Every job is dependent on another job. Anyway, let's get back to how these million small businesses will beat corporations. It will be better than activism because it will make people compelled and excited. So corporations will be able to beat us on price when they come in with bulk. If we're able to start food buying groups and get 20 or 30 people together, we can get at least close to their prices. Because then what we will beat the grocery stores at is they will never beat us in caring more. These million small businesses that we are starting, they will understand that the one thing they have that makes them better than the corporations is they deeply care about their customers. Not in some weird like, oh, we're a corporation and we care about you because we want your money. No, like, I care about you, Ulrich, because you're my neighbor. I care about you, Bill, because our kids go to the same school. I care about you because you're the local plumber. And I want you happy with my services when I have to call you, the local plumber, because we all depend on each other. That is an innovation. That shit's human. Caring will be our competitive advantage. I can promise you, in my small business, that's always what set us apart. We care. We care. We put people over profits, and the money follows because people want to be a part of something that cares about them. So this shows you, though, what this is really about. It's not that every small business is great and not exploitative. This is showing people that you'll never win by arguing. You'll never convince someone who's grown up with horses that a car is better. You will never argue that. You will never win that argument, right? And that is actually good, because all we need is for people to see the problem, right? They see the economy is broken. They see the media is broken. They see politics is broken. And then what do? We go and point fingers about it. That's what our instinct is. We try to go convince other people that the system is rigged. If we can just convince enough people to see what we see, everything will be fixed, right? That's literally our first instinct. But that will never work. It won't. Because people won't abandon something that they've grown up with just because you come in and tell them it's bad. But if you build something better, they will leave it. Because as long as they depend on it, they will always defend what they depend on. And here's what it comes down to, Mike. If we're offering eggs for $3 and $4, I don't think it matters what they offer the eggs for. If I'm going to a general store where my kid can walk in and I know the owner and our kids play together, I ain't going back to the old system, because that's what this is. People don't want lower prices. They want an alternative that's comparable. They want to be seen as humans instead of numbers. That's what it comes down to. Yeah, maybe you want to pay really low for your health insurance, but how does paying the lowest cost for your health insurance work out? How does paying the absolute lowest cost for your food work out? Are you getting healthy food? Are you getting quality care? No. But if we try to get people to abandon a system they've grown up with just because we've said it, right? You defend what they depend on, right? Then it shouldn't frustrate. Then you should be fine to move on, Ryan. We are of no threat to you, right? It's just us. There's not 100 different organizations working together. There's not tens of millions of people that all feel this. You're right. But what you should really ask yourself is why this makes you so, why you feel the need to monitor it, why it makes you so scared. Because we're just talking about building a company that cares about its community. That's it. Well, Bill, it's okay. Or Bill or Billy? Billy. They're one of those people that come in every single day. And they think that this place is a place where we want agreement or even debate. What this is, hey, if you've been feeling this too, we've all been feeling it. Because that's where, imagine trying to convince someone who's grown up with horses their whole life that horses are bad. They use horses every day. Horses feed them. Horses transport them. And if you just go in there and start bashing horses, they're going to defend horses. Well, Ryan, it's just funny because many days we have well over 100 people in here. All that happened was everything with Miss Good caused a lot of sensitivity on the platform, which lowered our, and that's where, here we go. It just, so people come in and they are here to distract, derail, and divide. They don't understand what we're talking about, so they jump us off track. And all of those things play into the hands of the billionaires. So as soon as you see yourself getting confused by the way that somebody else is acting, just remember, they don't understand that a car is better than a horse, right? They don't understand that a car is better than a horse. Boyle, I think that's where my analogy literally came from originally. So imagine trying to convince someone who's grown up with horses, right, that horses are bad. This is why you see people come in with all this anger and insults, because I think it's odd when people get frustrated at somebody who's just talking on the internet somewhere, but they get frustrated because they use these horses every day. And when they see somebody talking bad about horses, they come in and they defend the horses, right? Well, Bill, what it is it's Henry Ford famously said, if I asked people what they wanted, they would say a faster horse. So what it is if we go around to people and we go, the system's rigged, drop out of the system, nobody's going to listen because they depend on the system. But if we actually come in and we offer something better and we say, hey, the system doesn't work for us. Let's get groups of people together that recognize it doesn't work for us and go buy eggs from a local place instead. Because then you're not arguing about whether the system works for us or not. You're just creating an alternative and then you let everyone else decide. That's it. You're creating an alternative. No, I'm with you 100%, Billy. I'm just trying to explain my horses and cars analogy because they both have excellent uses. It's like it's like farmers markets and grocery stores. We didn't switch from farmers markets to grocery stores because someone came in and argued with us about it and made a good argument that got us to intellectually switch from farmers markets to grocery stores. They just built something better. There you go. They just built something better. So when you just build something better, you don't need to convince people, right? Vance, laws will not work. That's where, Vance, I do have to block you from all the platforms because of what you said. Absolutely, Boyle. We used to have the ability, right? So, but that's how people relate to the system because the system is all that they know. So if you haven't yet, hop on in, join the Discord. The Discord, we break out by state. We break out by state. Because what we need to do is form local action groups. What's that, Ram? Because systems actually change, not by arguing with somebody, not by convincing what is better. You let them see it. You let them use it. And once it works better, the argument is over. Oh, Ram, they're in here every day. And it's not that they were doing, I just muted, not blocked. It just is, the person was here to distract and derail. And that's one of the tools that the ultra wealthy use, is they try to get us to believe that there's 1,000 different problems, or to get some people focused over here, or to get some people focused over here. But it's really important to me for us to all see the same disease, because if we all think it's a different problem, we'll all go towards a different cure. And basically that person comes in every day. They had been given more than enough time to have a conversation, but they were simply trying to, just basically wasn't on topic. They're welcome back tomorrow if they can. So, but Ram, I'd love to tell you what's going on here. This is an economic pushback group that recognizes the majority of Americans don't have any money. And the fact that the majority of us don't have any money keeps us all stuck, basically. They use the fact that we don't have any money. That makes it so that we can't say no. That makes it so that we don't have freedom of choice. But most of all, we don't have any money, and that makes us living in fear, because we're one step away from financial ruin. And if we're living in fear and we're one step away from financial ruin, then we're going to be easy to divide. And that's why Americans are so divided right now, not because we're different, but because the majority of us don't have any savings. If we don't have any savings, then we have to keep working that crappy job for that crappy boss. If we don't have any savings, we can't buy the majority of things at the grocery store. And if you don't have freedom of choice, it doesn't feel like you have freedom at all. So then we go and try to fix it. We realize that the media is just there to lie to us. The politicians are just there to line their own pockets. And both the media and politics, which should be for people, end up being for profit. And then silence, what do? They make it feel like it is our fault. They blame you for not budgeting hard enough. Well, sure, your food and housing and healthcare ended up costing more than your salary, but you should just work harder. You should just get better skills. You should just be smarter. So what we're doing is we're stop arguing about what's wrong, and we start building what is right. Billy, they took the trees away because those trees are an alternative, and any alternative reduces our dependence, and any reduction in dependence gives power back to the people. That's all that we're doing. So if you haven't yet, y'all, fill out the Discord. Come on in. Nice Rangers. I appreciate it. The Discord is pinned to the top. Come join us. So we've talked about it a little bit, but one of the biggest tools that the corporations and people in power use against us is scale, is bulk. We look at the entire economy, the grocery stores, health insurance, all of it, and think, dang, there's no way we can ever replace that. There's no way we can ever fix this. This feels too big. And that keeps us frozen, right? We feel stuck. Trying to bite off more than we can chew is one of the biggest reasons this shit fails. So that's the number one thing we don't do. We don't need hundreds of thousands or millions of people to start. I need 10 or 20 people that are looking to find 10 or 20 people. That's it. 20 people that don't want to buy their eggs from corporations anymore, because food is the easiest place to start. We can beat the system though, because the one thing that the system does not offer us is caring about your customers, caring about the people that serve you. Because what got us in this situation is we have corporations that control this. We have corporations that control us, but those corporations don't care about us. And they don't care about us because there's no alternatives. They don't have to care about us. So I say and then all corporations they don't do anything. Corporations are just middlemen. We want to buy food. There are farmers that grow food. Corporations connect the two. We need healthcare. There are doctors that provide healthcare. Corporations connect the two. They don't add any value. What we need to do is we need to be the connectors. We need to replace the middlemen with corporate assholes with community carers. That's all it is. Because imagine this, you can call up 100 people and be like, hey, switch to a farmer's market. We need you to drop out of the system. And they probably won't because they don't have an easy alternative. They don't have a way to get to that farmer's market. But if you called them up and were like, hey, we've all noticed that corporations really don't care about us lately. And what we're trying to do is we're forming food buying groups to then buy from local farmers. Would you rather get your eggs from a local farmer instead of a grocery store? If you think it's not going to work, that's fine. This isn't for you. But for the people that are sitting there going, oh, dang, you could make some money off of that too. You could be the one that organizes the food buying groups and then make $1, $2 off those transactions. You make 30, 40 bucks a week with 20, 30 people. But then what if you get somebody else to find 20 or 30 people and you make this a co-op and you say, oh no, I don't want any employees. I want some partners. If you can go out and find 20 people, we'll add them to our existing 20 people and we'll each make a little bit of money. And maybe the more people that we have, the bigger bulk that we have, the lower price that we'll get. This is how we take it back, one step at a time, bit by bit. We need to decouple from the system. That is hilarious, Josh, especially because I love Iniesta. That is so funny. Yup, Boyle. And that's where when you need it, you start growing, right? But you expand slowly. You don't try to replace grocery stores right away. You do one thing and you do it well. Because what people want isn't just an alternative. It's an alternative they can trust, right? How cool would it be? I would pay an extra $1 for eggs. If I could text Boyle and be like, hey, Boyle, we doing the egg pickup this week? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, nice. I can't wait. I'm going to go get my eggs from you this week instead of the grocery store. And then when I show up, I see Boyle there, slap him a little high five. What's up, Boyle? Thanks for throwing this together. I'll pick up my free eggs right now. You are paying for like going to a place that you can have that interaction, that you can do that. I think that means so much. That is too funny. But really, I like the idea for the name, cost plus eggs, or like food plus cost, where Cuban did food plus drugs or cost plus drugs, right? And that's what we should be doing. So if you haven't yet, go ahead, join the Discord, because we're not making this overwhelming. We're making this doable. This is not activation. This is not activism. It's activation. Yup, food plus cost. There we go. Food plus cost. And then we could all call it food plus cost. And then there'd be a million small businesses, and then you could do clothes plus cost. You could do like an online consignment store. We can do, you can get 100 people together and then go to a local group of doctors and say, hey, we have 100 people. We want to pay you for our primary care. We don't want to pay our health insurance. Can we pay you directly? Absolutely, Boyle. And I think this is what will get people excited, because before, when we're asking about activism, when you're talking about protesting, you're asking people to do a chore with you. Hey, let's all go do a chore together. We have to do this chore if we want to win. We have to do this chore. We need to get 50 million people to do this chore together. But what if we make it fun? What if we make it exciting? What if we make it compelling? We're not doing a chore together. It's a million people starting a small business. We're not going to be louder. We're going to be better. We're going to care more. We're going to have a completely different mindset. Because what corporations actually convinced us of is they convinced us that we needed them to live, that food and housing and healthcare meant that we needed them to own it. But they never owned it. They were simply stewards of it. Whenever they came in and started taking over our food and taking over our healthcare, we always said, like, do you have our best interests at heart? But because that person that started that corporation was little old Billy who grew up in the community, we thought that they would take care of us. But over time, they turned that stewardship into ownership. But we've always been the ones that have created those things. We create the food, they own it. We create the healthcare, they own it. We build the houses, they own it. What should have been the communities to be stewards of turns into corporate ownership for them to make money off of. That's the shift that broke everything. That is when the 1% broke the deal. Because they said that, oh, we're more important. We are better. No. Corporations lost that accountability, and that's where things went wrong. Because they used to be a part of our community, but they got too big, and now they're a part of 1,000 communities. And when that happens, the incentives change. They no longer answer to the community. Who do they answer to? The goddamn shareholders, the stock buyers. Because when a business operates in 1,000 or 10,000 communities, it doesn't have to care about a single one. It is essentially a local market, but the local market cares about the people. The farmer's market is started by a farmer. Farmer's market is more expensive because the farmer's taking on all the risk. The farmer is having to advertise. The farmer's having to find 100 people to come buy it. What we are doing is we are having, Boyle and I are going out and we're each going to find 40 people, 30 people, right? And we're going to tell those 30 people, hey, if you're sick of buying something from a grocery store, we're putting groups together to buy things locally. Would you be down for that? I think most people would, because most people don't shop at a farmer's market because they don't know about it, because it's inconvenient, because they think it costs more, simply because the grocery store is their habit. The grocery store is their habit. We don't depend on corporations because we freaking love corporations. We depend on corporations out of habit. We don't continue to follow this system because the system works for us. We follow the system out of habit. Small businesses will always win because a small business depends on its community, whereas that big business has 1,000 communities, so they don't care about any one of it. If the health of a business is directly tied to the health of the community it serves, that's when the incentives become aligned. That's what we need to understand. Is that when the business has 1 or 2 communities that it relies on, that business actually cares about the communities. Because caring about customers isn't a charity act. Caring about customers is a literal business strategy. And corporations have turned away from that business strategy. And that is a strategy and an advantage that corporations can never copy. Because in order to have people care about their community, they need to pay them a lot more. So yeah, the corporations could like double the salary of their employees, and they would still only care this much as how much you care. That's the real competitive advantage we have. This is how we beat them. not convince people that the system is broken. This is how we simply build a better one. Corporations are the middlemen. They're the middlemen. They've taken over the same role. There are people that need something. They need food. They need housing. They need healthcare. And then the people in our community, food, housing, and healthcare, they're the ones that build it. But corporations sit right in between. And they don't pay us enough. I don't know what you're talking about. So all they do is connect people who create the value and build things. What's up, Mary? With the people who need it. That's all corporations do. But they do that in a way where they try to screw over both sides because they don't care about the person creating the thing, offering the goods and services, and they certainly don't care about the person buying the goods and services. We do it differently. We put people over profits. Us giving a shit becomes the competitive advantage. We care more deeply. That's how 1 million small businesses will beat the corporations. Simply because we will care for everyone. So this is not for everyone. Boyle, I hope you join the Discord. Yes, Boyle, yes. And so this is for people who are already sick of the way things are working. This is for the people that are already trying to shop locally everywhere they can. This is for the people that already care about your neighbors and your community, right? This is the part where we just build it, right? We just build it. We don't need to be an activist. You don't need to be political. You don't need to be an expert. You need to get 15 or 20 people that would rather get their eggs from a local source. And you can make 10 or 20 bucks a week. And then say you get 30, 40 people, you can make 30, 40 bucks a week. Because if you've ever started a side hustle, sold something online, brought people together, you can do this. We can do this together. So it's not about quitting your job. You don't need to do that. It's not about opening a business. It's simply being like, oh, I can coordinate between 20 people that want local eggs and the person that has local eggs. Especially if I can make $10 per every 20 people. Well, what if I build it up to 100 people? Then I'm making 50 bucks. What if I've got a partner and we bring 200 people? Well, then we're making 100 bucks a week. And all we're doing is helping a farmer bring their eggs to a local location where everybody comes and buys it, right? It's not committing. You don't have to join it forever. We're just talking about what the solution could look like. So if you are sick of talking about what is wrong and just want to start building what is right, join the Discord. Come be a part of this. Because community is the opposite of greed. And that's what this is all about. Community is the opposite of greed. And corporations do not care about our community because they're greedy. And the way to defeat them isn't convincing 50 million people, is that they're greedy. The way to change their minds is to offer a better alternative. And that's exactly what we're going to do. An alternative that cares about you, an alternative that recognizes that the health of the community is what determines the health of their business. So all that they want is a healthy community. All right, everybody, I'm going to get going. Go ahead and join us on the Discord if you can. We are going to meet every single Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're here every day at 11 a.m. And what we are talking about is the issues in America today, why most people don't have any money, how that boxes us in, not only economically, but politically. And then my favorite thing is to talk about what we can do to fix it. And it's not protesting, it's not charity, it's not activism, it is goddamn activation. Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern. The link is at blackoutthesystem.com. So what we are doing is we're building the community that we need to rival the rigged system. All right, everybody. Appreciate y'all. Have a great rest of your day. Bye, everybody.